In order to stay relevant in this budget smartphone space, phone makers nowadays usually have two options: release new products every other month or build something which is capable of taking down the Xiaomi Redmi series. Oppo thinks it can succeed by launching an entirely new brand whose name sounds an awful lot like Redmi. Its first smartphone, the Realme One, is here, but does it manage to deliver the punch Oppo is hoping for? Coming up next on TechPB.com. Hey guys, this is Shubham from TechPB, and today we will be reviewing Oppo's new Realme One. As always, we will be talking about the pros and the cons first, followed by the frequently asked questions. So make sure you watch this video till the end. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as we post a new video. Let's first discuss the why part of this phone. The Indian smartphone market represents a huge bet for Oppo. The company has invested a lot to make a name for itself through aggressive marketing and building a prominent presence in the offline space. It used to be the third largest phone maker here just a few quarters back, but with Xiaomi expanding its products across the offline and now showing no signs of stopping, it's been rather difficult for Oppo to get a firm hold on its position. The company thinks the Realme is the answer to that, and by making it offline only, Oppo is hoping to undercut Xiaomi by offering roughly the same hardware at a more affordable price. The Realme One's first major feature begins to literally shine as soon as you take it off the box. It flaunts the company's signature build, which might seem like glass but is made out of plastic and a polymer composite material. The Realme One, just like its elder sibling, the F7, is a stunner and will attract a lot of eyes. However, begin using it and you will find a handful of downsides. For starters, the Realme One is a fingerprint magnet, but thankfully, Oppo does bundle a clear protective case in the box. Plus, the Realme One feels a bit too light, which sort of gives away its glass disguise. That's not particularly a drawback, but I think the phone would have been more pleasant to hold. It would have been a little more heavy. The sides and the buttons are also plastic instead of metal, which does feel a little cheap. The 5.99-inch tall 1080p screen is equally impressive. Unlike the F7 though, it does come with a more conservative bezel-less design and doesn't have a notch at the top. The display itself is sharp and vivid. The brightness levels are slightly on the lower side though. One of the biggest letdowns of the build is the lack of a fingerprint sensor. Instead, the Realme One expects you to entirely rely on the face unlock feature, which itself can be a little inconsistent at night. The Realme One comes preloaded with the company's own ColorOS skin on top of Android 8.1, and it's still a painfully unintuitive interface. Not only does it borrow a lot of elements from iOS, Oppo has somehow managed to borrow only the worst elements of Apple software, like clearing notification is a two-step process, Truecaller doesn't work sometimes, and more. Fortunately, there is one aspect to like here: navigation gestures, which are responsive and well executed. One of the highlights of the Realme One is the presence of the Helio P60 chipset, the same one found on the Oppo F7, and it does not disappoint this time either. There's 3GB or 6GB of RAM and 32GB or 128GB of internal storage. On the 6GB RAM variant we were testing, everything from switching between a ton of applications to browsing the web is snappy. Furthermore, Oppo has included a bunch of smart RAM management features which are extremely aggressive and prevent applications from functioning in the background. This essentially means you won't receive notifications from a few apps sometimes, and things like widgets don't update properly. The 3410 mAh battery makes sure you don't run out of juice while doing all that stuff. I was constantly left with more than 30% at the end of the day. If you're a light user, you should easily get 2 days out of the Realme One. Lastly, let's talk about those cameras. The Realme One has a 13 megapixel sensor on the rear and an 8 megapixel selfie snapper on the front. Unfortunately, you don't get any dual camera novelties here. However, you don't really need them since the Realme One software handles bokeh features better than its competitors. In my experience, it figured out the edges more accurately than I expected. Regular pictures also turned out fairly well as long as there's ample lighting. Images taken on the Realme One usually have enough details and balanced contrast. That being said, the software did overprocess them at times, resulting in outputs which looked artificial and undersaturated. Hence, it's safe to say that the Realme One is certainly not the best camera phone in this segment. I feel though a lot of that could be fixed with software, since the majority of the times the problem was that it was just being inconsistent. The phone is capable of clicking excellent selfies too, but the portrait mode for the front camera is mostly useless. Videos on the Realme One, which while look decent are limited to 1080p resolution, unlike a couple of its fellow industry colleagues which can record in 4K. The Realme One also lacks any sort of stabilization for videos, hence stable lens are a must here. One upper hand I think this phone holds over others is its shutter speed. Even with HDR enabled, there's nearly zero lag. With that done, let's move on to some specific questions you might have. How's the speaker? The quality of the single speaker grill present on the bottom is just average. It's loud enough, but don't expect anything special. Does it support quick charging? No, it does not. The Realme One takes nearly 2.5 hours to charge completely. Does it support a micro SD card slot? Yes, it does support a micro SD card slot, and that too a dedicated one, not a hybrid. Is there a LED notification light? No, it doesn't have any LED notification light. What about dual 4G voice over LTE? Yes, you can run two 4G SIM cards simultaneously and they will both support voice over LTE. How's the gaming performance? The gaming performance is mostly fine. I was able to play PUBG easily on medium settings. How's the call reception? Call reception is great. There were no issues in my case. How much did it score on Antutu benchmarks? This is how much the Realme One scored on Antutu. There's a lot the Realme One gets right. The performance, selfies, design, a dedicated SD card slot, and support for dual 4G voice over LTE. However, the lack of a fingerprint sensor and underwhelming software experience stops it from being an easy to recommend device for everyone. But if you are someone who values the former features more than the latter, then you definitely won't regret investing in the Realme One. Otherwise, there are a ton of alternatives you can look into like Xiaomi's Redmi Note 5 Pro or the Asus Zenfone Max Pro M1. Do check out our in-depth comparisons coming up on this channel. That's it for this video guys. Hope you liked it, and until the next time, may the tech be with you.